This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 80, where we are looking at Gotham Season 3, episode 3, Look Into My Eyes.
Hey, this is Drew Powell. I play Butch Gilzine on Gotham, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Listen to my voice, no one else's, no peripheral sounds, but listen to the deep rhythms of my vocal tones. You are now completely relaxed and are listening to Gotham TV Podcast, episode 80. I am one of your hosts, John.
And I'm your other host, Derek. Welcome back. I like that, John.
Yes, we are looking into one another's eyes on this audio podcast and video podcast of Gotham, where we're looking at Season 3, Episode 3, Looking Into My Eyes, where we do get one of my favourites, Jervis Tetch.
That's right.
The Mad Hatter.
Yeah, I forgot about this. All the way back to our coverage of Gotham Central. Before Gotham even started, I remember you saying that that Mad Hatter was one of your favourite characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting to see him on screen.
Really cool. I loved this episode.
Spoilers.
Absolutely loved it. I thought what they did with him was excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really loved what they did with this episode. Welcome back, listeners. Yeah, as John said, we're talking about episode 3 of Gotham Season 3. And obviously our spoiler-filled discussion will begin in a moment about this episode. We will be going into full spoilers. So obviously, hopefully you've seen this episode, because it is definitely a good one.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Love it. Love absolutely everything on this.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, to do with Jervis Tetch.
Okay.
I hasten to add. There are a few things maybe that I would do differently, but definitely I think the introduction of Jervis Tetch here is really good. Mm-hmm. It's really good for Gotham and what they do with characters, and I think this is a realization, a bit like with Oswald Cobblepot, a bit like with Selina Kyle, Bruce Wayne, Ed Nigma, that this is another big bad.
Yeah, it must be kind of cool getting cast for one of those roles in Gotham, where you're getting cast as Jervis Tetch, a character that does last quite a long time in the comic book. So you're kind of going, I've got a job now for a couple of years if I get this job on Gotham, you know?
Absolutely. There is one little thing that I think maybe they pushed too quickly, but I think that's always been an issue of mine for a number of different bad guys that have been introduced, and the storyline seems to get turned over really quickly. But just one little thing, but we'll come to that.
Yeah,
but,
let's save it for Mo. Hopefully
exactly.
You are subscribed to the podcast. If you aren't, just go over to gothamtvpodcast.com. You'll find the podcast subscription buttons in any of Google apps or on iTunes or anywhere you want to subscribe to the podcast over there. Or you could just go straight through to iTunes by going to gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes to subscribe. A quick thank you to all of those joining us for our competition, our Bullockism of the Week. People have been sending in their Bullockisms of the Week. So if you want to join that competition, all you need to do is catch a Harvey Bullock quote and email us to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Hardly any in this episode this week.
Absolutely. That was the fairly tragic thing, is that after launching the Bullockism of the Week competition, Harvey is in the episode, but he doesn't really do a Bullockism.
Yeah.
Or does he?
We'll come to that later.
It may be more of a his actions speak louder than his words in this one.
Yes, I think so. But we knew that would happen within so many episodes. Anyway, I think it's time to crack into Season 3, Episode 3 of Gotham, Look Into My Eyes.
Yeah, so Derek, what production notes, what case notes have you got for this episode?
A really interesting one this episode. Episode 3, our wonderful director of Episode 1 and 2, Danny Cannon, has jumped to the other side of production and wrote this episode. So he directed the first 2 and wrote the 3rd episode.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see a little Danny Cannon running the show again for Season 3, which is quite cool. The episode was directed by Rob Bailey, another one of our really good directors of Gotham. He had an episode each season. He did Penguin's Umbrella in Season 1 and Season 2, Episode 2. So I think actually Penguin's Umbrella was the big turning point for Gotham, really, wasn't it? That was the episode where everything just got turned on its head and the show became the show we know and love now, really.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then he went on to Season 2 and did Knock Knock, the second episode of that season. So another good episode as well.
Yeah.
a lot of Alfred and Bruce interaction. So I think he likes those fighting scenes with Alfred and Bruce.
Yeah, and there's some good little interactions in this one, and of course another big reveal that comes in, which is very similar to Penguin's umbrella.
Yeah, we will talk about it, I'm sure. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis?
Sure. Bruce takes in his doppelganger, Subject 514A, aka 5, who demonstrates impressive fighting skills and imperviousness to pain and worrying signs of impersonation. Meanwhile, hypnotist Jervis Tetch hires Gordon to find his sister Alice, an Indian Hill escapee whose blood contains a virus. After he tracks her down following the dead bodies and burning properties, Alice tells Gordon she wants nothing to do with her brother. When Gordon questions Tetch, Jim is exposed to his power of hypnosis, leading him to attempt suicide. However, Alice saves Gordon, who then brings her into GCPD custody for her protection. Elsewhere, Leslie Tompkins, back in Gotham with her fiancé Mario, is offered her old job back at the GCPD by Barnes. In the meantime, Cobblepot begins his plotting to replace Mayor Aubrey and run for mayor on a platform to ironically clean up Gotham's corrupt system. Handily to aid with his campaign, he has Edward Nygma declared legally sane and released from Arkham in a very corrupt manner. As Lee and Mario head out to dinner and settle into their new life in Gotham, a very familiar face joins them at their dinner table.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the revolving door of Arkham Asylum. Isn't it awesome?
Absolutely fantastic.
All you have to do is just put a big villain in there and they'll get out pretty soon. I think there's quite a lot of people that are still stuck in there since they got committed. But if you're a big enough villain and have killed enough people, you'll get out of Arkham pretty quickly, it seems.
Well, it looked pretty chaotic. I'm surprised that the warden of Arkham could walk so freely amongst the chaos.
I think he seemed to be running from behind one cage to lock himself into another cage to protect himself. That seemed to be the situation. But yeah, lots going on in this episode. Tons of stuff. But I think we can cover them off the way we do each week in our top 5 points about the episode. And I think our first case point really has to be the introduction to Jervis Tetch, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Jervis Tetch is introduced, the Mad Hatter. I just thought this was a great intro. I absolutely loved it. First of all, being introduced within the Sirens Bar with very Tabs cool. and Babs there was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Parts of his costume, of his wardrobe here is really, really great. You've got the ticking clock, which is so awesome. You've got the inside of his hat, which is kind of like that black and white vortex aspect, and it's a really nice grounded way of bringing this character, which is slightly or can be slightly supernatural, into the reality of this Gotham world, and I thought it was really, really cool. And I loved how when he's hypnotizing people, the eyes go very, very, very black.
That was really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah, a really cool idea. Just they look into my eyes, not around them, straight into them. Eyes go black. It's a really cool way of showing that a person's in the control.
I think so. Well, I think it's look into my eyes, not above them, not around them, but deep into their center. You are now completely relaxed and are becoming weightless. Mm-hmm. And are still listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
I keep finding myself staring directly into the camera when I'm doing this now.
But I loved how the eyes went that deep black as he kind of, whatever power of hypnotism that he is exerting on this guy, what an unfortunate doctor, that was really, really quite cool.
Absolutely.
And his little riddles. Maybe Ed Nygma here has got a little competition. Lock sense away, awaken the rascal. When I say it is so, your new home is my castle.
Yes, it's really cool. A really cool idea.
Very cool.
So I love the kind of twist on that a little bit later on when he's saying, something will turn up. I don't have a home right now, and looks after the doctor. And then obviously a brutal end to the doctor and his wife, where he's still under the hypnosis of the Mad Hatter, and he tells him to kill his wife bury her in the garden, and then kill himself. It's like, you can tell this guy is well used to using these powers, and he's a very scary character.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely uncompromising with these powers. So I'm expecting a lot more bloodshed here. I kind of wondered. Well, there's two things actually. Like, I loved the Mad Hatter silhouette in that house, where you've got the lightning and thunder. As the wife comes down from the bed, she's noticed her husband missing, and there you have the lightning going away, silhouetting that classic look of the top hat. In the window against the background of the lightning behind. I thought that was really cool. Really excellent cinematography, the filming of it, really atmospheric, and then poor lady turns around and gets clubbed by her husband, who's in this trance. But yeah, he is obviously deadly. He's willing to use those powers. Obviously, we find out that even his sister Alice, and again, that's the great nod to obviously Alice in Wonderland.
Of course, yeah.
And even she has got a nervousness and a reluctance to be involved with her brother, or to be rescued, and how he sees it by her brother. So this guy already in this episode has really made his mark. He's mysterious, he's dangerous, and there are things that we still want to get to know about Jervis Tetch. I would say, and this is my little negative that is coming out, and it is only a little. I mean, it is just simply that I kind of wish Gordon was left in the dark about his powers for later.
I know what you mean.
I feel that whole scene on the rooftop in Gotham, where Tetch effectively is trying to get Jim to commit suicide. I just wish that either Jim comes around from that and he has no recollection that it was Tetch, and he still feels that there's something going on, or that Tetch effectively puts him back under and says that the problems with his sister, that maybe she's unsound or disturbed and needs his protection. I just wish that Jim wasn't fully in the light about Jervis Tetch. That's the only thing. I thought, it was a bit too soon with this character. I mean, I don't know how long he will remain around. The Scarecrow ultimately, or Scarecrow's dad, and the Cranes, they were only in 2 episodes. I have a feeling, I believe that the Mad Hatter is going to be a longer character in and across season 3.
Yeah, I'd agree. And again, remember, I suppose the Jonathan Crane, the character we saw as Scarecrow, was a much younger kid than we saw in the Batman kind of mythos or in the comic books. This version of Jervis Tetch is a younger character than we've seen as the Mad Hatter in the comic books. He always tends to be a much older character in the comic books, but he is fully formed. They can use him a few times. But yeah, you're right. The idea of everybody knowing that he can control your mind with just a few simple words is probably a bit early for the show to be releasing that to a major character like Jim. We could see it as the audience with the way he's controlling people perhaps for a while, but having Jim be immediately taken in by this guy very early on in the show's run seems like an early jump for the character. But I do have a great positive in this episode. One of the ones I absolutely loved in here was possibly what could have ended Jervis Tetch's life very quickly. Bringing Barbara on stage and saying that she was madly in love with him. I loved this scene. Once again, Barbara Keane, a great moment. But what a choice for Jervis Tetch to make, to go, you're in love with me. Oh, but what if I was in love with another? And she smashes a glass and goes straight for his neck.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a great little throwback to the madness of Queen Babs.
It's so good. And again, I mean, I love what they're doing with Babs again this time. I do wonder, is Tabitha onto Jervis Tetch? She was kind of eyeing him up a bit suspiciously. I don't know whether it was just because he was, in her eyes, maybe doing magic.
Yeah.
Was it that she was, Barbara seemed to be enjoying his act more than she felt comfortable with, or does she, as being a bad guy previously, does she, potentially sense the kindred spirit? I suspect it is just the first one, like, who's this crazy guy? But I felt there was a bit of suspicion there behind Tabs's kind of looks and glances over at him.
I did love how Barbara took it on board immediately and went, "Ooh, what a great power to have this person in my control." And I think Tabitha is kind of, yes, in your control, but for how long is kind of the attitude she has. And absolutely right. How do you keep someone in your control if they're able to hypnotize anybody to do whatever they want them to do? Whereas Barbara's like, could you hypnotize someone to do what I want them to do for a while? Until I get bored and hypnotize you to do what I want you to do. Really interesting. But really love those scenes. And again, loving the Sirens Bar. Having these two characters together, Tabitha and Barbara, are working really well for me in the show so far.
Oh, brilliant. Really, really cool.
So that's Jervis Tetch, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure we have another couple of points crossing over with them.
I'm sure we do. But I think we move on to our next point. And is that Emo Bruce? Emo Bruce becomes Bad Bruce.
Yes.
Rogue Bruce. Rogue One Bruce. He is... I'm liking David Mazouz doing these two characters, and I like Emo Bruce. I think David Mazouz will be able to do a fantastic cinematic bad guy. He's got that look down of I'm thinking evil thoughts here down to an absolute T with Bad Bruce. I really enjoyed it. We get a bit of backstory as well from him with regards to his designation 514A.
Yes, we do have a name for him now. His name is actually 514A, but he calls himself 5, or everybody refers to him as 5 because 514A is a long name.
A lot of numbers and digits.
I'd never remembered again. So 5.
It doesn't trip off the tongue. That's the problem. But we see him burning himself on a candle, and there's the absolutely fantastic sparring scene with him and Alfred. Again just loved that. It was sunshine, scar, and sparring. I loved Alfred's sunshine in the Cockney accent. Really, really cool. I love that he gets 2 really good right hooks from the doppelganger. And then Alfred gives him a good old punch now, proper army. He goes army on him, basically, and really puts his training down and on the doppelganger. And we see, he's impervious to pain. He doesn't feel that pain like he would do normally. And, he then also begins to go creepy Bruce with the improvisation, with the voice thing. I loved it. I thought that was almost horror-esque. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it was all, loved it. It was creepy. Him just looking through the door that's slightly ajar at real Bruce and Selina,
who is broken in again to
exactly.
matter. As we mentioned last week, they definitely need some more alarms.
Like Arkham, it's porous. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it is a really interesting one. I did like it. I'm kind of guessing that this is going to turn out that there is a very simple explanation to this. He met Selina on the street. She gave him money. He's kind of fallen for her, and he's using all of his tricks to get back to Selina, basically. He doesn't seem as shy and retiring as Bruce would be. Bruce has taken 3 years of knowing Selina, and they still have only had maybe 1 or 2 kisses. It feels like this version of Bruce is just going to go, oh, met this lovely girl in the street. She gave me some money. How do I get her? Okay, I'm going to use all these tricks. Pretend to be the billionaire, cut my hair like him, and take her off for dinner.
Whereas 5 has taken the Rolls Royce.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's nicked the car.
Very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, GCPD, surely ringing the roller has been nicked
by Bruce. Yeah. So that's the problem. How do they get it? How do they get around it? So he looks like
But
Bruce.
Alfred could do it and say, "I'm concerned for his safety. He shouldn't be driving."
maybe, but I'm not sure if that will go past the GCPD. They've got a lot of other problems on hand.
But yeah, I loved it. Nicks the car, moves in on Bruce's lady, even though Bruce himself is like doesn't know it yet, and is all creepy and weird in Bruce's house. So really, really good.
It is really interesting, though, I suppose, with the Bruce Gang or Emo Bruce or Five. I suppose it is really interesting that he is displaying some of the characteristics that we would associate with Batman and would associate with Bruce Wayne in later life. The fact that he doesn't feel pain, the fact that he's a really good fighter, instinctually good, the fact that he goes after the ladies. Those are all traits that we associate with Bruce Wayne in the comic books and in the movies that we've seen in the past. So weirdly, Bruce could actually learn a lot from Five.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah. He's super confident. He certainly moves into that role very, very quickly. Absolutely.
So maybe there will actually be two sides to Bruce Wayne in this show. One of them will actually be Batman and the other one will be Bruce Wayne. We just won't know which is which. But there you go.
Yeah, well, I think with that...
On to point 3.
Yeah. Mario and the family ties.
Yes, interesting one here.
Yeah.
Great to see another member of the Falcone family. The Falcones are a huge crime family and crime organization, I suppose, in the comic books. Mario has always been in the comics, and I love that they're sticking with this. He has always been the kind of righteous one, the one that's kept out of the family business, or at least tried to turn the family business round into an operation that runs better for the betterment of Gotham.
Yeah, it's a legitimate kind of operation rather than criminal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool that they have kept that basic concept of Mario. He is connected to the family. They're all aware of them. He kind of seems to know what's going on within the family. Lee knows what's going on within the family, but not perturbed by the fact that Mario is definitely not a gangster.
He's also a doctor. He's in at Gotham General.
Yeah.
He actually stitches up Jim Gordon, who has been knocked out by Alice in their first encounter.
Hit by her.
No, it was hit by people after Alice in the bar when they're in the Narrows bar. Yeah. So but I mean, okay, that's a bit on the nose that he meets him in the ER in Gotham General.
Can I say, though, I love Lee's reaction when Mario tells her that story and goes, I was stitching up your ex-boyfriend today, and she goes, oh, well, of course, because that's what always happens to him. Of course he's going to be going to the hospital to get stitches. I love that.
Almost ruins the dinner date as well, in fairness, because, Leslie is, why didn't you tell me sooner? And he retorts with, well, why did you never tell him about me?
Exactly. Yeah.
Burn. I mean, that was a sting. It really, really was. But I mean, okay. I mean, I understand why they meet there in the ER. It's a bit on the nose. It's a bit, a bit too deliberate in a sense. But nonetheless, they have to introduce these two characters together. They've done it in this way. I think for me, the great thing about this whole thing was that we see Carmine Falcone returning. I love the kind of the craziness that Leslie knows exactly who this guy is, but is with Mario. You've still got that relationship of Falcone with Jim Gordon's dad as well, and there's a relationship there that is mutually respectful to some extent, I think. You have Falcone's relationship with Cobblepot as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of relationships, a lot of links that can happen when Carmine Falcone returns to Gotham. Yeah. So I love this little drop in there. I thought it really was pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah.
I was glad that they did it. I like to see how this pans out, given that she's also now working back at the GCPD and has a criminal father-in-law.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite an interesting one. I do like his speech to Leslie, saying, "You seem like a woman that's of that level of beauty that men would do anything for you." As in, will Jim stick out of this relationship, or now that you're back, is there going to be some fight between my son and Jim? Really like that Leslie picked up on that as well. I like the kind of warnings, because he's an old school gangster. He gives shaded warnings to people, but everybody knows that he is warning them here. So I did like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of nothing's going to stand in the way of that marriage.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, but
it probably is. Because there's Gotham,
that's true.
There's Jim, there's Carmine Falcone,
yep,
and all the baggage there. So I suspect Leslie should have stayed put where she was.
And Mario did not repeat the fact that Jim already told him he would kill him if he hurt Leslie. But
he was joking. It was one of those things that if you hurt my best friend, then you're
that's never meant as a joke.
It.
It's never meant as a joke. It's always a serious thing when somebody says it.
So I loved this whole family ties element. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really, really good, and I suppose as well, might as well introduce the physical Bullockism of the week at this stage, given that really Harvey Bullock didn't seem to have one of his phrases this week in this episode of Gotham. But we have the lovely awkward scene where he tries to protect his friend Jim after he's come in to get his bounty, and obviously Leslie is there getting her job back. Mm-hmm. But with Captain Barnes, I think Captain Barnes as well has teed it all up by saying, oh yeah, he's no longer here, as he walks in. And Harvey, it's the awkwardness of Harvey here that is the Bullockism, that he knows he's trying to do the best thing, but he's doing it really awkward, and in the end he's the one that comes across looking like a bit of a fool, almost like he's trying to lie as well. He's trying to prevent Jim from knowing the fact that she is back in Gotham, where I think Jim would think, you should be telling me that she's back in Gotham. So it kind of ended up maybe Harvey, it's the egg on the face Bullockism type of thing for poor old Harvey, I think, in this scene. But I would suggest that could be, as a long shot, the Bullockism of the week.
We'll go for that one, definitely. On to the other big part of this episode. Could potentially have a new mayor of Gotham, changing from King of Gotham to possibly a more official position. Yeah, Oswald Cobblepot is challenging Mayor Aubrey James to his post. We knew this was coming. Obviously, the posters for Cobblepot for mayor have been going around for months and months on end. I think back to July before the season was even announced. I think I saw some posters for Cobblepot for mayor. Knew it was coming. But really interesting. It's another. I think it's Batman Returns, wasn't it? Where Oswald tries to run for political office.
He does, yeah.
So a nice little throwback. That's our little Batman moment for this episode. What do you think of this storyline, John?
No, I really like this storyline. I really want to see how it goes. I've been enjoying seeing Mayor Aubrey back, up to his old tricks, up to his old self. Mm-hmm. But I really want to see how it runs and plays. I do like the irony of it all, that he's coming down on corruption given who he is.
Absolutely.
I do wonder whether in normal cities you actually might be barred from holding public or political office, given you might be a crook. Although you might argue
in the world.
You might argue what's the difference exactly. But there is also, I love that he gets his mate Ed Mogglepot out of Arkham by effectively undermining his own platform for running for mayor, which is anti-corruption. There's the great restaurant scene as well between the two of them, where Aubrey is trying to safely in a public setting sort of really frighten Oswald off. I mean, he should know better.
Absolutely, by this stage.
I love the joke of him being stuck in a warehouse with his head in a box for effectively the whole of last season. How are you able to run this great city of Gotham. Really, really good.
I have to say, I love that restaurant scene. I love the concept of, it's the waiter and a bodyguard and the bartender who all have guns for Aubrey James, and then it's like all these old women and the loving couple in the corner all take out their shotguns and guns on Oswald's side. That is totally a Batman 66 moment. I love that.
It's really good. And I mean, I suppose the only thing I wish on this storyline is I wish they would stop having Cobblepot interrupt a press conference. He did it in the GCPD. Yeah. He's done it again here at Mayor Aubrey's launch of his campaign, because it feels strange.
Right.
I feel as though Cobblepot, yes, he will do the public speaking and all that, but he won't. I mean, I don't know. I wish they wouldn't use that device too often.
I get you. Everything stops for Cobblepot. Yeah. Really. Yeah.
Yeah. Given his history in Gotham already, and I suppose that's the one thing that for me I've got to be convinced of, I've got to come around to, is the fact that here we have someone who has been on the wrong side of the law, now going for public office. Yes, he's been treated badly by Gotham, he's locked up in Arkham, but nonetheless he has still been head of the criminal underworld.
Absolutely.
And I need to be convinced of this new role of him going to become mayor of Gotham.
Absolutely. I think there is a weird moment when Aubrey James actually calls out the fact that he was put in prison and for killing people. And Oswald's response is, oh yeah, by your system that you put in there. And it's like, well, not just Aubrey James's system, also the fact that the police arrested you for that and put you in Arkham Asylum for those murders. Yeah, you may have gotten out because it was signed off by Hugo Strange. Yeah, but you still broke the law. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I'm not too sure whether that argument will wash. But it's happening. I suppose the commentary on a real life situation in some ways on Gotham here, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
But with that one, I think we're on to our final point. Kind of has to be Alice herself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Alice and her superpowers.
Alice in Wonderland.
This is a really interesting one. So she seems to have something wrong with her blood, something in her blood put in there. We think by Hugo Strange. She is one of the monsters.
She's an ex-Indian Hill. She's been cited by Selina with Fish Mooney.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely an Indian Hill experimental subject.
Yeah.
At one stage, I thought her blood. First of all, I thought it was her lips, almost a bit like Poison Ivy type of thing.
Yeah.
Where when the kiss from the landlord was being forced on her, and he was obviously then looked as though he was dying, so I thought it was poisoned lips or something.
Yeah,
almost a bit Snow Whitey sort of to an extent with the poisoned apple. Then I thought, because in the Narrows bar, he talked about the blood spilling on the bar, but the whole thing was burnt out. I thought, okay, is this like it goes on fire? So then I got slightly confused. But what we learn is that she is destroying anything that comes into contact with her blood because it contains a virus of some description. So she locks the landlord away to see how it reacts, and then effectively kills him, then burns the apartment down with Jim there as well. And then also she burns down the Narrows bar as well.
Yeah, it was a really odd one, wasn't it? I had this whole image in my head of, is her blood like alien blood, where it's got acid in it and it burns down a bar, which I presume wouldn't be anyway possible, but you never know in this show as to what Hugo Strange has done. But yeah, it's an interesting one. She seems to be creating the zombie virus, or some kind of virus that could be taking out people in Gotham.
No, absolutely. I thought it was really interesting, I think, having her there. And I think for me, the whole thing with Alice is going to be her relationship with Jervis Tetch.
Of course, yeah.
And how that interaction occurs. It'll be nice to see, now that she's cuffed to Jim as well, where she ends up and how that all pans out. Because I'm wondering, does Jervis Tetch have the ability? We've seen him operate his powers on one person directly, but has he got the power to hypnotize, say, the entire police force in the GCPD to go in and rescue or kidnap, depending on your point of view, Alice?
It's an
So that,
interesting one.
for me, Alice and Jervis Tetch are this is good. This is really good.
Really looking forward to seeing more of that. I think that's our top 5 points. Notes for this episode. Any notes there, John?
Just simply that Enigma is free.
I know
He's free. He's alive. He's free, and I'm really glad he's out of Arkham. I think it's probably good for Corey Michael Smith to get a bit of a break, maybe. I don't know. I suppose, but again, I think taking that too long where he's in Arkham Asylum, unless you begin to develop a storyline in Arkham again around Enigma. Otherwise there's that fantastic character wasted. I think, again, like with, you introduce someone like Jervis Tetch in the same way that Galavan was introduced into season 2, and you want to see how these well-established characters in Gotham, and the ones, like Oswald Cobblepot, where he absolutely clashed with Galavan in terms of personality, in the fact that he killed his mum, all of that. And here, I've always absolutely loved Enigma and the Riddler and Jervis Tetch and the Mad Hatter. And I think it's because there are similarities of the two. And I have a feeling there could be some really good differences of opinion, explosions of personality between these two.
I definitely like to see them
hope
interact.
so, anyway.
Yeah, I kind of, the only reason I would have liked to see Ed stay in Arkham is that I was kind of hoping he was going to become a little bit of a Hannibal Lecter character, that Oswald would be going to him under guard and kind of be getting guidance from him from there. But it's really interesting he's going to be out. Obviously, it's exciting to see those two characters working directly together on a project, this time to get
the campaign manager
as a mayor.
Exactly.
Yeah, really interesting. Butch Gilzean didn't seem hugely sold on the idea of Oswald being a mayor.
Not really.
It was very much okay, I see where you're going with this, but can we not just run the bars and that kind of stuff? So it feels like Butch is still with the old school of gangsterism in Gotham.
I think so, and you wonder, does he, meet with Falcone and want to go old school again? I mean, it'll be interesting.
Will he go back to his one true love, Fish?
Yeah.
Or back over to his other true love, Tabitha?
Yeah, or just keep the Oswald Underground Empire running. So ultimately he becomes one of the big crime bosses. That would be great, actually. Yeah. I'd love to see that.
Be quite a cool touch, definitely. One of the ones I really liked in this episode was the fact that Jim and Selena are working together again. I really like that that Jim's kind of snitch in the underworld is Selena. So whenever he needs to find anybody, he goes straight to her. He's looking for Alice, he'll go straight to Selena. She flips it back on him. She's looking for Ivy, so hopefully Jim will get involved in that, and they'll be able to find Ivy for Selena.
No, absolutely. I think one of my other notes is that, again, last week we postulated about Valerie Vale possibly being, involved with Jim in another sort of love triangle of Jim's, but no, Sting. Jim was stung.
Oh, yes.
Valerie probably got way too much sense and cop on to really stay around Jim. I loved it. It was kind of heartless, but probably you could understand her sort of saying, "See ya, bye." This was a complete one-off.
Yeah, it just feels like that's not Valerie. It tells a lot about her character. She's not the kind of person that's just jumping into bed with someone to start a relationship. That's not her thing.
But I loved it because I do feel as though Jim has acted such the nightmare, I think, for anyone wanting the relationship.
Absolutely.
Any female, I should say, wanting the relationship, with Barbara and with Leslie, that I felt it was a bit of him getting a taste of his own medicine. But really good.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's time to wrap up this episode of Gotham and our discussion about Season 3, Episode 3, Look Into My Eyes. John, overall, thoughts on this episode? You seem to be really high on this one.
I really like this. There are a few things, as I said, a few negatives here for me, but they do not take away from the introduction of Jervis Tetch. For me, it's why I ultimately am giving this 4 Mad Hats out of 5.
Nice.
I love the introduction of the character. I love that he was so bloody, so dangerous, and just so creepy and weird, but clever, all at the same time. I loved how he was introduced in the Sirens Club. I loved his costume. I loved all that aspect. Some really good images of Jervis Tetch here. I love the Mad Hatter. I thought this was really played really well.
Yeah.
And with his sister Alice, really, I just thought they nailed the character for this world of Gotham.
I definitely want to say a huge shout out to Benedict Samuel, who came on board from The Walking Dead. Was the last time we probably saw him in season 6 of The Walking Dead, I think, where he played the main wolf, the chief wolf that was living in the town with Rick's group. A very creepy kind of evil character in that show, like really dark character. I wasn't expecting to bring the same kind of darkness and intensity into Jervis Tetch. It works really well for the character, though. I like the kind of darker side that we see, and the lighter side, him just being on stage, being, playfully doing some tricks to make a little bit of cash, and then going off and murdering a family to get their home. I kind of love the fact that he's able to play both sides of that. So a good bit of casting there for
absolutely.
For
I think the developments with the doppelganger, with Emo Bruce, becoming a bit more suspicious and worrying, at least for Alfred. And again, that whole boxing scene was just pure class.
Excellent.
Every time these two, Alfred and Bruce, or Emo Bruce, they get together, it is an absolute joy of Gotham. It really is. And I think Mario, the family ties, and Falcone. This is another bit of intrigue here that we're getting. A lot of things were revealed here. A lot of surprises, new characters, and obviously with Ed being released from Arkham now. This was a really great episode for me.
This is a pretty cool one, definitely. Well, listeners, thanks again for joining us for this episode. Come back to us for episode 4 and make sure you send us in your feedback to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Join us on Twitter @gothamtvpodcast, which is pretty much the place you find us for everything you need to find us for.
Absolutely. So we have some feedback from Daniel Butcher again. We're told do not read this until after Christmas. It's now after Christmas, and we are well into Gotham at this stage.
Well into 2017, yeah.
He goes, "Hey boys, so Jim Gordon really has worsened as a person over the 3 years. Remember the idealism? Remember when he was a bright light against the grim of Gotham? Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, absolutely. I think, Jim has changed. He has lost his idealism. Yeah. But maybe this is him plowing his hands into the filth in order to reignite that idealism at some point. Better be soon, because, Bruce Wayne's growing up. He's going to be Batman soon, so he really does need to even just get back into the GCPD at this stage.
Yeah, he definitely needs a friend, and I think the thing about Jim is he came in trying to get Harvey Bullock back on side, back to the light side. Harvey was kind of another one of those kind of grayer characters heading towards the blackness before Jim pulled him back. It feels like Jim is heading towards the darkness now, and possibly the only person that's going to be able to pull him back from that will be an adult Bruce. Remember, the White Knight of Gotham also isn't around here at the moment. We still don't have Harvey Dent, the other member of that 3-person group that worked together. Jim was never supposed to be the Angel of Gotham. He was there as Gotham goes to hell in a handbasket, really, and that's where they seem to be going with him in the show.
Yeah, Daniel goes on to say, I'm still watching, but I sometimes feel that a non-Jim Gordon is walking around in a city full of Batman rogues. Yeah, I'm back to that. Was this always the plan to make him really dark and then transform him back into Law and Order before the series finale?
It feels like it.
Yeah, it really does.
I think I mentioned it on one of the earlier episodes, that the way I'm kind of seeing Gotham at the moment is almost like it's in a parallel universe, kind of like the way they've done it over on Flash. If you're watching The Flash at all, it's a parallel universe where Batman doesn't exist, and it's kind of easy to take the way that they're taking Gotham at the moment. It doesn't feel like there's any difference in this Gotham universe. Batman could step off a train and go straight after a lot of these rogues now. They are pretty fully formed, some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Daniel also goes on to say, the Bruce doppelganger is becoming predictable. I almost expect the court to kill him, thinking it's real Bruce in about 8 months. And Mario is a Marone yawn.
Interesting. So not as much fun in this episode for Daniel.
No, not at all.
I don't think. We've really enjoyed the Brucelganger in this episode. Look, if you're going to have a twin or a clone of one of the characters, this kind of stuff is going to happen, right? There's going to be some cases of mistaken identity. The first one we're seeing here, though, is he's going to take his the lady love of the actual Bruce out for dinner. So I'm kind of liking that. I think that's a good fun choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Daniel, you're probably right that the court may kill him.
It's possible.
Whereas
you can't stay around forever, though. We know
that is true. But the thing is, and the interesting thing about it is that I think when we saw the doppelganger for the first time at the end of season 2, where he was released into Gotham, we kind of thought that ultimately this was going to be the court's plan to get him in control of Wayne Enterprises. And that's why they were effectively replicating Bruce Wayne at Indian Hill in a test tube, effectively, was so that they could infiltrate to the owner level, Bruce Wayne. And that doesn't seem to be how it's panning out, I should say. Really,
far, yeah.
At the moment, but maybe that is a direction that will still happen. Who knows?
Yeah, they're really, really intrigued to see how those characters play it. Thanks so much for your feedback, Daniel.
Absolutely, Daniel. Thank you so much for the feedback. Again, as we said before, anyone who wants to send in any feedback, please just send it in to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com, or you can leave comments or messages on our group, on our page. Just search Gotham TV Podcast on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for joining us again. I think we're going to go off and find a good hypnotism show.
Absolutely. I'm going to look into my eyes, not around the eyes, but look into my eyes. I'm going to watch Little Britain again, where that comes from.
I love it. That's obviously the reference from Danny Cannon, isn't it? It must be.
Maybe it's not. I'm hoping it's not, because actually I kind of went off Little Britain by the end. But, yeah, I reckon so. But I must say, the signature call of Jervis Tetch, look into my eyes, is fantastic, as they go a very, very dark shade of black. Inky black. But I think with that, thank you again so much for listening, and we will speak with you next time.
Yes, we'll speak to you next week for episode 4 of Gotham Season 3. Thanks
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.